Hi, Thomas. Good to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Very busy.
Good. Good. Are you oh, I need to let you know I'm recording the session. I think the screen has already warned you of that, but just to let you know, I'm recording it so that I can post it out to the others that can't make it. I'll let Claire in as well. How's everything going though, Thomas? Are you all on track? Are you going to take the exam in November? Or are you still undecided?
Well, I had a few changes at work, a lot of departures, and I'm going to be very busy. And I'm thinking, because I'm closing the club in January, just focus in January and get it in February.
Right, makes sense.
Because it's kind of crazy this year, unexpected change, I would say.
Okay, all right, yeah, no problem. I'd much rather you took it when you were ready, so absolutely delay it and take it in February. That's absolutely fine. Good. All right, cool. Hi Claire, nice to see you again.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. You know already, I think, Claire, but I'm just recording the session so that we can post it around to anybody else, but just to let you know anyway. I will give it a few more minutes and then we'll get started. But everything's good with you, Claire. Have your samples arrived that I sent out?
Not yet, no, but I don't know if I think it'll probably take another day, just based on how the deliveries seem to work around here. I don't know if I get mail every day.
Right, okay. Fine. They were only dispatched on Saturday, and you know, I dispatched them by second class. Sometimes they arrive the next day, and as you say, sometimes it takes 3 days. So maybe yours is going to be a 3-day service instead. Yeah. Okay, good. Do either of you have any questions before we get started with what I want to go through today?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah, so Thomas, I'll delay on sending out your mock exam pack as well. I'll send that out in January.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You won't need that to add to your pressures in the run up to Christmas. So we'll save that until the new year.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Christmas.
Okay. Good. Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming. This evening's session is supposed to be to introduce you to the tasting toolkit this time, which is a hub of resources that I have put together in your online classrooms, which I hope will better prepare you for the level 3 tasting examination. So just like a couple of weeks ago, we went through the theory toolkit that I've also put together for you. This time the focus is on the tasting toolkit. Also, your resources are slightly different to the spirits group, of course, so I'm doing this session separately to the spirits group. So this is absolutely wine focused and doesn't involve the spirits, the students taking the spirits exam as well. Okay, so you'll both be you've both been doing the course for some time now, so you will be familiar with what the systematic approach to tasting is and does. Its purpose, its objective, but just as a reminder, it is there to give you a tool to help you describe a wine. It's about communication. It's about you being able to use the systematic approach to tasting to communicate what you are experiencing in that glass of wine to yourself firstly, but also to others around, professionals, or to clients and customers that you might be working with, or if you're not in the wine industry as such, be able to talk to friends and family and other people that you might want to communicate with wine about. So it really is a tool to give you, or a system that gives you a tool to help you describe a wine. Again, I'm trying to focus here on some command verbs. At level 3, command verbs are key to getting through the examination, and one of the things that comes up time and time again is this word describe. If you can describe a concept or a theoretical concept, or you can describe the style of a wine, that is one of the things that they want you to be able to achieve at level 3. So the systematic approach to tasting is there as a tool to help you describe a wine to yourself and to others. By using the systematic approach to tasting regularly, it will give you rigor so that your descriptions and tasting notes are complete and that they're accurate, and that they will allow for fair and objective comparisons within styles, within categories, and across styles and categories. So you'll be able to sit down and taste a flight of 6 Sauvignon Blancs and be able to pick out differences between them, and to be able to try and almost as well explain why you might be experiencing those differences between them. But then you'll also be able to compare across categories as well. Why is Sauvignon Blanc different to Chardonnay, which is different to Viognier, which is different to Pinot Gris, so on and so forth. So be rigorous with using the structure, the framework to help you with those tasting notes. The systematic approach to tasting will also give you all of the data that you then need to be able to evaluate the quality of a wine and to draw conclusions about its readiness for drinking as well, which is 2 valuable marks in the exam. So definitely worth focusing on there as well. Okay, right. So now we've brought up the exam, let's talk about what the purpose of the exam actually is. Okay, firstly, it gets you your qualification. It proves to the examiner, it proves to the world that you have studied and that you have learned and you have become an expert professional in wine. Or are capable of, maybe you don't want to be a professional, but you are capable of you have the knowledge, you have the experience that is needed to take you into that professional world should you need to. The tasting exam specifically will test your ability to describe a wine. It's testing your communication skills. Okay, it's also testing your sensorial skills. Have you learned to be able to understand the difference between a low acid and a high acid wine, or a low tannin and high tannins in wine? The flavor and the aroma description as well. The SAT, rightly or wrongly, places a lot of importance on flavor and aroma description. It awards lots of marks to that part of your ability to describe a wine, and therefore that needs to be understood as well. Of course, in the exam, the systematic approach to tasting has to be used with rigor and precision so that you can pick up all the available marks to you. Now, of course, once you're out with the examination, you can use the systematic approach to tasting however you like. You can ignore it if you like and use your own system of wine tasting. And to be fair, there are a number of different systems for wine tasting out there. Not everybody uses the WSET's systematic approach to tasting. And there are lots of things that perhaps aren't right about the WSET's systematic approach to tasting. But if you want a WSET qualification, you have to learn to use the systematic approach to tasting with rigor, with precision, in order to pick up all of those marks. So this brings me to the tasting toolkit. So what I have done is pull together a number of resources that I will help you better prepare for the exam. Some of them you've seen already because they've been in your online classroom for a long time. It's just I've moved everything around and gathered it all together in one section, which I've called the tasting toolkit. Okay, have you seen that in your online classrooms? Yeah. Okay, so it's been there for about 2 weeks or so. I have added some bits to it and I will continue to add some bits to it. So keep an eye on it. And hopefully in there are a number of resources that will be helpful. The first thing, which again, I know you've both seen because I've sat down and I've worked through this with you, is the systematic approach to tasting itself. It is in there You'll have a hard copy of it anyway. You've got that in your study packs, but there's a copy of it also in the tasting toolkit. You will need to learn this off by heart because you can't take this into the exam with you. So you must learn it off by heart. And I can highly recommend getting yourself a mnemonic to help you remember it. So you don't have to think too hard when you're in an exam setting. You can just scribble it out and you know exactly what it is that you've got to be looking for. Okay, of course, learning the lexicon might be a little bit harder to do. That will come with practice. So you need to practice using it, which I know you both are. I have got tasting notes that you've sent me, so I know that you're both practicing using it, but it is something that needs to be done. Okay, right. So yes, every wine that you taste between now and the exam, whenever you choose your exam to be, I would highly recommend using the systematic approach to tasting, so you can get used to using the structure and you get used to using that lexicon of aromas and flavors on the back as well. Okay, secondly, in the tasting toolkit, there are a number of videos that I have created. Now, I am not pretending for 1 minute that I am an expert at making videos. So I appreciate that they might not be top quality. I haven't done them professionally. I've done them sitting here in my office space with a camera in front of me, or whatever space I was in, because they're not always all in the same space either. And I've pulled them together over several years and kind of edited things and chopped and changed things. So I appreciate that they might not be of the best quality, but they are definitely intended to help you with some of the more difficult concepts in the systematic approach to tasting. Specifically, so there's one that is an introduction to the whole of the systematic approach to tasting, and it's quite a long video. It goes through 4 different wines, I think, and describes how to use it. To be honest with you, it covers what we do in our first video tutorial session anyway, but you might find it a really useful recap to watch back through it. You might also just find it never hurts to go through things 2 or 3 times as well to help cement them in here. Another video that I have just put up there as well is one that covers the concept of development in wine. This is something that I find students often miss out. It's only worth 1 mark, but you know, 1 mark is a really valuable mark. And to be honest, there are only 2 ways that a wine can go in the level 3 exam, and that's either they're youthful or they're developing. So it's really important to understand what they mean and make sure you remember to comment on the potential development of a wine. It's something that's detected on the nose, and it's definitely worth always making sure that you write it down because it's a valuable mark. Anyway, there's a video in there that goes through it, which I hope you'll find helpful. And then there's also a video in there on readiness for drinking. Again, another concept that I find students struggle a little with because it's new. It wasn't covered at level 2. So it is something new that needs to be understood. Video goes into quite a lot of detail about understanding a wine's readiness for drinking, and there are examples in there as well. Okay, lovely. So there's some videos in there. Some of them are long, and some of them are short, so you might have to be prepared to kind of stop and start and go back to it in order to get through it all. One day I will be able to make proper professional videos, but for the time being I've done what I can with the tools that I've got. Okay, right, so there's also some documents in there that will give you a few hints and tips about how to use the systematic approach to tasting as well. So I would recommend having a look at all of those. A couple of things in there that I think are really valuable, and again, you might have seen these before because I used to include them in an announcement. So you'll get regular updates whilst you're on the course. You get regular updates from me that usually come out sort of on a Monday. They're automated. I set them all up at the start of your course, and they'll certain ones come out at certain times. But there's a couple in there where I've included a worked example of an exam paper. So I've written some answers in there, and I have explained why marks would have been awarded or why marks would have not have been awarded as well. I think that's a really important example to have a look at to help you understand how the papers are marked. Again, I know we've been through it in your tutorials. I know it's covered in your study packs, in your workbooks, or study guides. I think they're called study guides, but it doesn't hurt to go through these things again in a different way. So I would encourage you to have a look at that worked example at some stage. Okay, and then the other exercise that I think in there that I think you'll find really helpful to do is one that I've called Thinking Like an Examiner. The idea is that there are a number of tasting notes in there that, again, I've written, and it's your job as the student to mark them, to give them the marks like an examiner would. And then I've added the correct answers in there, and I've written a notes document as well that will help you understand where marks might have been awarded or where marks might not have been awarded. So 3 steps to that particular activity. Firstly, you mark the paper. Secondly, you check the answers, the real answers that I've put in there. And then thirdly, there are the notes to review that might help you understand them. But and again, yes, you might have seen that before. It might be coming out in announcements that you have later in the course, but I've decided that it might be better to put all of this stuff together in this hub of resources that I've called the Tasting Toolkit, so that you know it's all there in one place and you can go into it whenever you want to as well. You should be able to easily find it, easily locate it, and use it whenever you want to. The whole point of the way that I run these courses is they're supposed to be completely flexible and you can use the tools however you need to use them to help you complete your studies. So I felt that this was a good way of helping you achieve that. Do you have any? That's everything that I wanted to say. That is the Tasting Toolkit. That's everything in there. I perhaps should have shared my screen. I will do that now, just so at least that gets recorded. Share screen. Okay, so you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay, so here you are, you've got your video using the systematic approach to tasting, that's in there. Just to point out that I did record that a couple of years ago when I was using my old branding for Case Studies Wine School. So you'll see that the branding is slightly different, but hopefully you can work with that anyway. You've then got here the video, another video, Readiness for Drinking, and you've got 2 parts to that one. You've got one where I introduce the concept of it, and then one where I actually go through some examples. Another video there, I'd made that video for level 2, so you might find that it's a little bit basic, but again, it doesn't hurt sometimes to come down to a slightly lower level and go through things. Then you have got development here, and then you've just got some paperwork, so blank tasting notes in case you run out of space in your study guide. The tasting mat, I have sent you all copies of that anyway, so you should have that somewhere, but just in case you need another one. You've seen all of this stuff before. There's the SAT itself there. There's some other documents here, tips that you might find quite helpful, and this is where you've got your worked example, your exercise, Thinking Like an Examiner. And then you've got this color chart here. I wouldn't worry too much about the color of wine. It's very difficult to represent color in print. So that's one. This was a document that the WSET used to provide, but they've stopped doing it, I think, because the color is so difficult to recreate in print. So I think it's not particularly helpful, but I know some students like to have it as a guide, at least, to what they should be doing for assessing wine. This is where I'm going to add in some other exercises. Okay, so this is a bit of a work in progress at the moment, but I'll be adding some other exercises in there that I think you might find particularly helpful. Okay, so that's the tasting toolkit. Does that make sense? Yeah. Any questions from either of you about anything, about the systematic approach to tasting, about how the exam works? All good. Okay. Are there any other resources that you think I could provide that might help you? Is there anything else I can do? Are these sessions, for example, are these sessions helpful?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's quite nice just to be able to touch base, and then if anything crops up, have an opportunity to just ask about it. So yeah, I think they are useful.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So if I was to set up one, say once a month or something,
Mhm.
to cover something or rather, you'd find that quite helpful.
No,
Yeah.
it is quite helpful. And I like the fact that it's recorded if we don't have time. I could not join in August, and that was very helpful.
Okay, so does this time 6 o'clock on a Monday?
Well, usually I am off, but last month I had to come at work because some sickness, some resignation. So it
Yeah.
should be good, but we never know.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh God. You know what? I get that. I do get that, how things change, and you can't always do what you want to do. There are loads of things that go in my diary, and then I have to say no, can't do that, and which is frustrating. Is the way it is, the way the world is just now. Okay. All right then. Okay, well, I'll consider that then. I will add in some other sessions, so at least they're there, and they're things that you can get involved in if you want to, or need to. Are there any particular topics that you might, or skills development that you might want covered, do you think? Claire specifically, because I know that you're intending to take the exam in November.
Yeah, I mean, I think from my point of view, probably I think the next few tasting tutorials will be quite useful, or like doing more tasting, just because I feel like I'm slithering a bit between is something medium plus versus medium minus, and yeah, I think otherwise it's just there's so much geography involved in all the different bits. So I'm mainly just trying to remember geography. But yeah, I think like that will hopefully all click into place just with a bit of repetition over the next few weeks.
Okay. Okay. What I might do, and one of the things I was thinking of doing, is some sort of learning skills, which might give you some tools to help you with that geography and that that being able to memorize and then recall things. So maybe that might be a topic for the next session that I put together. Leave that with me. I'll have a think about that.
Okay, thank you.
Any suggestions from you, Thomas?
Well, it's what I was used to do when I was at school for the geography, for coffee and French. I was putting map in my bathroom instead of taking my phone. And I'm quite visual, so if I see it quite often, once a day, twice a day, I need to negotiate that with my wife because I'm not living alone anymore. But little tips was useful for me. So
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so yeah, that could work. Take a map into the loo instead of a phone.
Exactly.
Lovely. I mean, one of my favorites, I don't know whether it necessarily works for geography, but one of my favorite things that I did while I was studying was I would have a pack of, and I still use them now for things, pack of Post-it notes. And I would just write a question on one side and then the answer on the other. And then I would stick the, you might say, I don't know, what grape, I know you both know this, but what grape is Chablis made from? And then I'd stick it on the wall, or the kitchen cupboard. I like to put them on kitchen cupboards because as I was cooking dinner, or if I was making a cup of tea, or if I was going into any of the cupboards for any reason, before I did it, I'd ask myself one of the questions on the board. Probably actually the most recent example. So I finished my level 3 spirits only not last year, the year before, and I had my kitchen cupboards absolutely covered in post-its, all in different colors, all with different questions, because it's quite technical. It asks lots of questions, regulatory questions, how much of this raw material can be used in that particular spirit, and so on. And it was a brilliant way of being able to recall those sorts of things. So that's another tip that might help. But
That's cool. I like it.
Yeah. Post-it notes, brilliant. And of course you can get them in all sorts of different colors as well, so you can do color themes these days with your post-its. But good. Okay, lovely. I've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to, so I don't know whether you've got, I mean, what have you got in your fridges ready for drinking this evening? Anything exciting?
I do actually. I have a Fila Coast 2017 leftover from last night, so I'm like, why not?
Yeah, lovely. Bit of age on there as well, so you get some nice tertiary complexity. Good, brilliant. Yeah, Claire, or are you having a night? Are you working tomorrow?
No, well, I am working tomorrow, but I'm going to allow myself a glass of wine tonight. So I've got what have I got? I've got a Chardonnay from Monterey in California, so I'm going to have a glass of that.
Lovely, very, very cool. I've been watching on television. I don't know. I mean, I watch. I like to, while I'm doing other stuff, I like to have a box set on or something, you know. And actually, it's particularly helpful while I'm making up your pouches. Because it can, as you might imagine, it can take a long time to put a pack of pouches together, particularly the spirits one as well. And the spirits ones are really easy because I don't have to put argon in them, so which I do with the wine. So the wine ones are a little bit more complex, so I might not do it so much when I'm making up the wine ones, but when I'm making up the spirits ones, I have the television on. And one of the things that I've been watching is something on Netflix called Psych. I don't know whether you've come across it. It's about it's set, and this is the reason why I'm telling you, because it's set in California, in Santa Barbara. And I find it, I don't know, it's just watching little things like that. They often are in a vineyard or something, and it serves as a really nice reminder that there are, you know, Santa Barbara was a region in California that I used to forget about otherwise, that existed, but it's firmly ingrained in my brain now as a wine producing region, because it features in this particular TV program, which I watch quite a lot of. So and Monterey, this again, the reason I'm telling you is Monterey is just up the coast, just a little bit from this particular area. And apparently I haven't been there, but apparently it's a beautiful area and it's perfect for Chardonnay. So I'm sure that'll be a nice wine.
Yeah, so, I hope so.
Yeah, I've got in fact, have you seen the film Sideways, either of you?
Yes.
Film Sideways? No, I'd recommend it, Thomas. It's a very good film. It's I think that's set in Santa Barbara as well. I might be wrong about that, but it's definitely set in California. And they specialize in Pinot Noir. The film is very much focused on Pinot Noir, and that's what I've got for tonight. So but not California, and I'm going for the real thing. I've got some Burgundy, so
can I come?
You'd be very welcome. Okay, lovely, really good to see you both. Thank you for joining me. I will set up a few dates with a few more sessions. You all know that my schedule varies considerably, and it's not something I can do regularly, but I will put some things on, and hopefully they will be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Lovely, my pleasure. Nice to see you both. And of course, I'll be in touch in one way or another sooner or later.
All right. Thanks again, Claire.
you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
lovely
Bye.
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 Bye.